Jason, obviously a challenge nowadays with advancements in technology is streaming. So how do we deal with that in still trying to encourage people to come to events and experience it live?
Well, streaming is a fantastic opportunity for fans, real fans, to get access to following their teams in sporting events. I guess to try and tackle that is you've got to improve the fan experience, actually to visit live events. Live events certainly offer a different perspective than sitting on your couch streaming products on TV. The other thing is you've got to make sure that the price point is, unfortunately, the cost to go and watch live sport these days is just astronomical. If you're trying to take your family for a day out, it's hundreds of pounds by the time you pay for the tickets to watch the match day or the athletics, for example. And then transportation, potentially hotels, food and beverage at the stadiums, arenas tends to be grossly so costly, but also and probably the produce isn't tend to be of the highest kind of qualities and stuff like that. So I think a lot of fans do feel that they're getting ripped off, but then I guess sometimes the stadiums they can only fulfil a certain amount of capacity, and they've got to try and make their maximum revenue spend. So it's very different at trying to give the fans everything at low value, but also for the operators to make enough money to continue to run the daily operations of running events. I mean, I know for a fact, for example, in the London Stadium, the cost of changing the seating configuration from football mode to athletics mode is millions of pounds. Hosting an event, the insurances are kind of crazy, the security, there's all these layers of costs which make it suddenly a difficult kind of operation to run. And often what you find sometimes is those genuine hardcore fans get priced out.
Yeah, it's mad. Yeah. It's absolutely mad.
That's, as you say, not even thinking about the ticket, the transport.
Just all food.
Yeah, that's literally just the food. I mean,
can't bring your son or to a wife,
No, thankfully they don't want to come. It's only Palace. They're not interested. It's cheap. It's just me on my own.
In terms of grassroots clubs, I guess there's that challenge of people coming through the turnstiles is really important. So how do they manage that with things like streaming coming through? How are they still getting people into the grounds?
Technology is in, at all levels, and I've seen it from the top end right the way through now to grassroots football and the kids and everything. Technology's there. We all more or less have mobile phones. Some are good at times and some are not so good. WhatsApp groups, wow. Ping, ping, ping everywhere. And you feel as though you've got to answer it. But I think it's there. It's the way forward. It's not going to go away. I think, again, education comes into how do we use it. And even when I do certain things in the grassroots element and we sit the kids and we talk to the kids and at all levels, we talk about this profile that they can have one now. At any age really, they can use the tech, and they do use the tech. Then they'll put something out there. But what we try to stress through MP coaching is just be careful because it's there forever. So it doesn't matter what age you are. That is a way of other people finding out who you are before they even have met you.
True.
And I think it's really important that put positive stuff out there, positive things about yourself, positive things about other people and things that you're involved in, because other people will find negatives. But I think it's really important to understand that this is your personal journey that you're putting out there all the time through streaming and the media and everything, and profiles can be formed through just that. And it's your CV in a way. That is your personal CV now. So go with it, experiment with it, but try not to be cruel to everybody.
Yes, I think the 2-point shot is probably the biggest one, but I think we've also we've created a few other rule changes such as tactical timeouts. That's a new thing this year, so I think that's going to be really cool for if one team's got massive momentum in their favour, the other team can probably just kill that and call a timeout in the moment.
How many can
quickly.
they do? Is it?
I think it's 1.5
right.
they're introducing. So I think that'll be a really, it's not necessarily an obvious way to try and control a score, but I think it'll definitely try and stop some of these big momentum shifts that we see during the games.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I love
that.
that.
It's another little tactic to use, isn't
it? Sorry, the eyebrows really creeped me out there.
Sorry. I can't control. I have very expressive eyebrows and I can't stop them. And it happens a lot.
God.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that genuinely is really exciting. Yeah, and as you say, it's only going to help make the sport more enjoyable to watch. And
Definitely. I think if you do that, give people more of a way into watching it, then you lock them in, hopefully, for life.
Well, I guess coming to a game is it's more of an experience, really, and you can only get that by showing up. I mean, I know Nottingham Rugby, not many teams in the Championship actually stream games anyway, so your only really option to watch it is by coming down and getting amongst the crowd and being involved in the atmosphere.
It's a different vibe, isn't it, being at a game? Like, I guess streaming does help open up, the sport to people that might not be local or whatever, but you don't get that same vibe unless you come to a game.
No, streaming helps for our family back home, that's still stuff like that. Like that'd mean the world to them, like being able to watch. It's a shame that our competition's not televised, so I think they might be working on something at the moment for the next couple of seasons, but that helps the exposure. But there's nothing like Keegan said, coming down to the game and smelling the food vendors, seeing the kids run around on the pitch at half time, and it's just a real buzz.
It is a double-edged sword, really, isn't it? Because, like you say, especially for people like yourselves who are playing on the other side of the world to your families, you'd love for them to be able to watch, but then at the same time it does pose those challenges for maybe people that might otherwise come down but think, just stick the stream on. It's hard, isn't it, to try and strike that balance.
It is. It really is.
Same with any sport. You just don't. And to anyone that doesn't watch sport, or you can't really explain that feeling of being at a live sport to them.
No, I agree. Yeah.
It's just something like inside you. You sort of feel it here. Get a bit deep there, aren't I?
Gymnastics is still a very key fundamental sport. When you have a major champs, whether it's Commonwealth, whether it's Olympics, the amount of people say that one of their favourite ones to watch is gymnastics. And gymnastics has done a lot over the past kind of 5 to 10 years to increase the exposure, but again, there's always more that can be done. I think some of our World Cup events, more exposure to them, being able to stream them more, would be amazing to create that fan base. I mean, I've got an absolutely avid football fan at home. My husband follows Liverpool. He has done since he was 4 years old, and literally every day of the week there can be a football match of some description.
There are.
And in future I would absolutely love that. The gymnastics in America, you've got the NCAA, and that has such a huge following, and you're now able to start watching that and seeing that. So I think gymnastics is making strides, but there's always more that you can do to make it more accessible to everyone, for youngsters to see it and be exposed to it, and then that it just creates that little spark of, actually, I want to follow in their footsteps.
Definitely. This episode is powered by Shoshin.
Shoshin are here for the up-and-comers, the never-giver-uppers, the risers and the fallers, fueling the journey of all athletes with quality products.
For every kick, hit, pass, Shoshin are there. Sharing your passion for nurturing athletes. Together, we can empower the next generation of athletes, one game at a time.
Ready to play. Set to improve. Shoshin.
To find out more information on Shoshin and where to purchase their amazing products, visit www.shoshin-sports.com.
Yeah, this is another difficult question. But for example, the Commonwealth Games, I've got friends that have been involved in the Commonwealth Games. I've actually never played in the Commonwealth Games before. There's been para events, but it's just not worked for me at that time. But I believe they cancelled this Commonwealth Games that was going to happen. I think they've rearranged it, if I'm not wrong, for maybe to have it back in the UK. I'm not sure, but it was meant to be in Australia and it got cancelled because they couldn't afford it. It's tricky. It's difficult. I don't really have a great answer to that. But what was the question again?
Don't ask him because he doesn't know either.
Was it something about ticketing or something?
Streaming.
Like no, I think the Commonwealth Game, things like the Commonwealth Games, have got to move with the times and try and reinvent that product and try and make the sport, the sports that they bring in, unbelievably attractive for for the people that are coming to watch it. And I think you know, that is a big part of it. Like they have to make people want to come and watch this sport. And I think it's amazing sport. It's elite level sport. It's great to watch, but also it's on them to the way they do it and the way they put it across. I think Commonwealth Games is one of those things. You can cut this if you want, but it's like it's difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult to enjoy it because I'm not the biggest fan of the Commonwealth Games. Probably, there's nothing against it. It's just seems a bit odd because it's just like the way it was sort of created, and it's like England against like
I get that.
So like the Commonwealth Games wasn't. It's just a bit weird because you've got like England against like just like certain weird like countries, and it doesn't sit well with me.
It's like England. The historical vibe about it.
There's a historical vibe about it, and there are people also that have problems with that have spoken to me in sport. So I don't know if this should go out, but like, and they've been like, they have got a problem with the Commonwealth Games because they see it as like a historical thing.
Yeah.
I don't understand it politically.
Understand that. Yeah.
I don't really understand it politically, but there are people that have issues with that particular event in sport.
It's really hard to separate that from like the event itself.
And I think that does affect the integrity of the sport, and it does affect the crowds, because it's not just them, the athletes, that feel that. It's also some of the people that come and watch as well, and they start to think, oh yeah. You know what I mean?
I do get that, yeah.
But it's sad because the Commonwealth Games can be great. It is what it is. I don't really know how to.
Get that.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need people through the turnstiles, and it's not expensive at all. I think the most we charge is £5 for a game, if that. And it's just that little bit of support from people coming, walking through. It matters so much. If we start to stream, then it kind of takes away from that personal experience. That little crowd of 50 people that we get, it matters so much, and it also supports the club. Just that little £5 when you're walking through the gate, it just does go a long way, and it's just got to make sure that people don't forget that.
What's the food like at Chesterfield?
A good chip butty on a Sunday.
Really?
Yeah.
I love a chip butty.
Yeah. Quality.
The reason I ask is I've got a theory. I think that non-league clubs at the moment are. Have you seen the Twitter account, Footy's Gran?
Love that.
So it's an account that people can post photos of like food at football matches.
Brilliant.
And I've noticed that a lot of the good food, and like some of the photos are amazing. It's like gourmet burgers and stuff, and some of them are terrible, like a sort of undercooked bun and nothing in it. Most of the good food tends to be from non-league, and my theory is that non-league clubs are putting more into the food and the beer from a local, the experience. Exactly. Yeah. Obviously, chip butties are a part of that as well.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody loves a chip.
My local non-league team, Cheshire United, have a van that turns up that's called Bill's Diner, and the word diner is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. But it's part of the experience. In fact, when we played in the FA Cup against Lincoln, they hired a pizza van, and the pizzas were amazing.
So
and everyone's
good.
like, bring the pizza van. Poor old Bill, that didn't work.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's a route to get people into non-league games. Make that experience like really enjoyable, no matter what the football's like. Make it cheaper. That could be a £20 day out as opposed to a £100 day out at a Premier League game.
Yeah, definitely.
Getting a better experience. Maybe that's a way to get people to come back.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's like I said, the experience, making it just a nice day out. People want to get together and go to something like that. Perfect. I mean, who doesn't want a chip butty on a Sunday? Do you know what I mean?
True.
It's raining outside. You get a chip butty. Like, what more do you want?
Win-win. And actually, do you know what? I think they do that super well in America as well. Not the chip butty.
Yeah.
We do that the best here for sure. But the experience around sport, I mean, my goodness, like they know how to entertain, don't they?
Yeah.
So I really do think there's something in that, making that match day experience a little bit bigger, which I have to admit, I do think we're getting better at in this country.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But again, I think it's just that challenge, I suppose, of trickling that down to lower league teams, because of course we're seeing it in the top tier teams, but how do we get people to Chesterfield matches? And that's the challenge.
I took my daughter to Arsenal women versus Crystal Palace women as her first top flight Crystal Palace game. We lost 5-0, and her favourite part of the day was the chips that we got at the end.
There you go.
And they were good chips.
Yeah, I bet.
But joking aside, for a little one, she will remember that.
Associating that with an enjoyable time.
Well, that's it,
Totally.
isn't it? Tying it all together.
Yeah.
It's
So-
perfect.
Hopefully that turns into a lifelong support of a terrible football team called
Yeah.
Crystal Palace.
Maybe take us to the Arsenal games.
yeah. She did say halfway through the first half, and Arsenal were like 3-0 up. She's like, I think I want Arsenal to win.
Yeah,
And I was like,
nice.
that's not how it works, mate. Unfortunately, it's been deemed you're a Palace fan.
Welcome
You
to
have
the
to-
world of
you-
football.
I think streaming is certainly a powerful tool. Like it expands the reach, and certainly for sport, it's a fantastic platform. So I think back in the day, when we ran any events, you like part of your entry fee, you would get food. Took a bold decision once to just go, actually, we're going to get rid of food and we're going to live stream these events. And people are like, oh, well, who's going to watch that? I was like, we don't know. Well, let's find out.
Yeah.
Because more and more people were like, they were taking their own food. They didn't want burger and chips. They wanted to take pasta and things like that. Actually, I don't want a heavy lunch. I want to eat when I want to eat and whatever. So I was like, great opportunity to do so. And the reason, like, we put a lot of effort and time and money into building that audience online, we then packaged that up and said to the BBC, we're hosting a major international tournament. This is what it looks like. Here's a highlights reel. This is how professional we do it. And we managed to have them conversations with the BBC and get the European Championships in 2018 when we hosted that on the red button for 5 days.
Wow.
Now, that in itself, on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, if you open the BBC app, we were on the front page because there was no other live sport happening Wednesday morning.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
open the app, we're there, there's the results and like our imagery, branding and everything. So the exposure of the sport from then on in was like, actually, this is a global audience now. That, I mean, it was still on our YouTube channel and you can still see all of that stuff, but to get it on that higher profile was like, it was huge for us. Like, it's a massive turning point in the sport. You know, I think a lot of sports now, they've started to be a lot more centred around the athletes. The more that athletes can build their own brand, it reminds people to go, actually, like if you look at, you know, the girl that's just moved into Bristol Bears, Ilona, from, like, she's just been USA Olympics in Paris. She's just joined Bristol Bears, and they sold out the audience every single week. The shirts, people go and watching the sport. Women in general go and watching it, going, I don't even know what the sport is, but I love what she represents.
Yeah.
They would have never known that if it wasn't for
So
like
true.
those athletes. So that building an athlete up on live stream and commentary and socials and all of that kind of stuff, and that fan engagement, I certainly think is the way that you can kind of reach bigger audiences. And realistically, I think, yes, there's an impact. Can it impact on attendances? Possibly. But I might have not have known the sport existed to ever go and watch it in the first place.
Yeah.
So I guess on the flip side is that it's got that positive effect of like, well, it might have inspired me to go and buy a ticket to go and watch a sport. Like all of the sports that when you know, talking about touch, it's free to go and watch. Like at the World Cup this year, there was probably 10,000 people there on finals day. It was a free event.
Wow.
Like you didn't need to pay for a ticket, you just turned up. Like you paid for parking and you paid for your food or whatever when you got there, but like the event was open entry. In hindsight, you could have ticketed that, and you only have to put like £3 or £4 on, and you'd have made like a ton of money back that you could have gone, actually, that could have funded a ton of other stuff. Like, because it's always been free, people want it to be that accessible, but I think you've got to start commercialising some of these things, and not to put people out of like, oh, I can't take my family now because it's, you know, if you go to a football game and you take four of you, like, you're £300.
Yeah, it's insane.
It would have been £15 for a full weekend of sport with a family. Well, it would have been super cheap in comparison. But yeah, I think that fan engagement piece is key to drive just general engagement.
Yeah, I think that's really important. You probably should have made it tapas rather than burgers.
True, that's what I was missing.
Yeah, that's
I wasn't involved in this one. That was the linchpin with that.
I guess that's the challenge for any club at any level, isn't it? You know, you see the top sides and the top clubs that are getting the big broadcasting deals or coverage, and then you're seeing clubs lower down that are struggling to get by with a handful of supporters coming through the turnstiles, as you say. So, you know, with modern technology, it's great for us as consumers to follow sport and to tap into things like that and to generate an interest. Maybe we've got to find a way of using that hand in hand to go along with how to get people through, you know, the gates physically and getting involved and supporting, you know, in a face-to-face environment rather than just a screen or a device. I guess that's the challenge. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, in all honesty, Jim, but certainly it's something that needs to be addressed and helped, and, you know, that level of sport or organisations needs support to get that, you know, if they're reliant on people coming through gates and supporting clubs, is a big challenge, I think. Not quite sure maybe what the answer is, but technology is great nowadays, but coming back to the basics and the old school way of things is often a good thing as well.
But you've got, you know, non-league football, for example, is a whole different world, and I go and watch my non-league club as much as possible, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's like football back to the old school, it's basics. Yeah. But again, they struggle. They really struggle to get people through the door. They struggle with a lack of money. As you say, so getting that money to drip down somehow, because that is a whole beautiful world of football in its own that doesn't quite get the exposure it deserves.
No, and it's got a key place, I think, in the community for the level of the sport that you're in. And, you know, yes, when you're talking about an elite level, there's all the numbers and the finances that get ploughed into that and the support that the following comes at that level. But like I say, you can't underestimate a sort of like a non-league side somewhere that you might have a pensioner that goes every single week, and it's not just him rocking up supporting the club, it's him, he or her. It's part of their daily routine, or not daily, but weekly routine, and it's good for their mental health and maybe getting out physically as well by going along to the local club and supporting them and giving to the club, but it's what it's giving back to them as well. So there's so many benefits to that side of it. So yeah, you know, we can do our bit supporting it, but it goes hand in hand.
Definitely. I'm contributing to that conversation via stomach rumbling.
I honestly didn't hear it.
It's still growling.
I know you can hear it. I'm sorry.